Break up the White Sox. Break up the White Sox. The Southside Hitmen have won 2 in a row. Lakina's not excited. While the Cubs lose 2 out of 3 to the San Diego Padres, the Stanley Cup Playoffs in the second round are off and running. It's the next phase of the NBA here upon us, and we'll have our good fun to wrap up the week with our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika. That and a whole lot more as Second City Sports, the Friday edition, starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports So Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kim McGee on the Twitter, X, and Kids again, the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcasts. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite sports opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you fools to build and be about.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color right now on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC or your Android, just hit up the Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
It'll be providing you with some of the nothing but the best here on Second City Sports, as we'll talk Cubs with our new friend Mick Gillispie from the Cubs YouTube channel. Also, to our girl Christine Manika is back from KXRB to talk all the latest sports headlines from a lot of sports media news happening. As you know, it's kind of getting down to the wire with the new NBA TV agreement. Could Netflix get a couple of Christmas NFL games this season? And a new twist to the Sox, Blackhawks, and Bulls' new home was a new twist. We thought that things were figured out, but there's a new twist to it. But first, we're going to talk some baseball. Yes, we'll talk about Cubs. We'll talk Cubs later on. But first, Sox got a nice win last night against the division leaders, the Guardians.
Payoff with 2 down, and Ramirez fly ball out into right field. Sheets will make the catch on the run. Andrew Vaughn out to right center field, going back is Freeman in center, and it's off the wall. Tommy Pham's being waved in, and he will score. The White Sox strike first. DeYoung hits this one hard. Ramos had to wait momentarily. They are waving him in. And the White Sox take a 2-0 lead here in the second. Delivers that one out into left, and DeYoung, they're waving him in. It's the White Sox with a 3-0 lead here in the second.
And And of course, those highlights of courtesy from NBC Sports Chicago. Now, the Sox did avoid the sweep against the Rays. They did finish the opener of the weekend series against the Guardians. Tommy Pham had a couple of big RBIs. Paul DeJong hit the home run. So I guess Pham can actually be turned over, I guess, later in the summer, when the trade deadline starts. But
Don't say that.
That's what's going to happen. So they've won 9 games. Yippee! And I mean, look, the Sox are just like, okay, they don't suck. They're not as bad, but they're still bad. I mean, let's just be honest here. But you're okay. They don't look too bad. So I guess that's how we can look at it. I guess.
Outside Paul DeJong's home run on Wednesday at Tampa Bay to avoid the sweep, the Sox can actually score some runs without the long ball. Yay! I recognize that, and I know not too many people will recognize that, but I will. Number 2, you mentioned about people being flipped at the deadline. Maybe Mr. Eric Fetty could be one of those candidates as well. He didn't look good in his last start last Saturday afternoon at St. Louis, but he looked very good last night. I know he only had 3 strikeouts, but he pitched 6 great innings of I'm not going to say no hit ball, but shutout baseball. Of course, the Guardians scored their 2 runs in the 9th inning. But here's the thing, Lakina. The Sox, you try to save face at this point, and I don't know if you read the news about Luis Robert Jr., and I know he said he felt a little discomfort early in the week, and according to Chris Getz, we're trying to get him back on track I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but we're trying to get him back on track. We're going to try to get him to Arizona, get his at bat so he can be back with the ball club very soon. And I put this out on Twitter X, I believe it was yesterday, before yesterday's game. Do you trust the White Sox with their recent history of dealing with injuries? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a little bit of that last night, and I'm just like, okay, if you're trying to go through all that, I mean, I know he wants to try and come back this year, but I think it's a lost cause the last season. I would say just try to sit out the rest of the year. He's probably not going to do that. He's too big of a competitor. So I think for me, I think the whole thing with the White Sox and how they handle injuries, like I said, you have the mishandling Eloy's injury last year, and then some, it's just like. They haven't had a good history. So for me, I think this stuff with the White Sox are just like the White Sox at this point are in the pay no mind list. I know they've won 10 games. Okay, bravo. But I'm just like, whatever. Like, I'm sure you kind of caught Cleveland off guard. So I think it's just like, whatever. I mean, I'm trying to be positive and see some positive stuff. I know some White Sox fans probably want that too, but I'm just like, they as like Denny Green would say, they are who you thought they were. They show little flashes here and there, but everyone else is just like whatever. I mean, Andrew Vaughn, I know had a good hit last night, but like I said, I mean, it sucks. Okay, whatever. But if we can muster up a split against the Guardians, great. If you end up losing in the rain of the series, whatever.
Another positive that came out of last night's game: Jordan Leisure. The rookie reliever, he was supposed to be one of the White Sox last fifth starter coming out of spring training, but he was reduced to the bullpen. Well, he did a nice job. And Michael Kopech is starting to build up that resume. Even though, as I said on our last couple of shows, he's still trying to learn how to close games because the bullpen is weak right now, roster wise. But maybe that's another person you can flip at the deadline too. I'm not saying he's going up to the 9 miles north to help the men in blue. We'll get into that later, and maybe that's another guy you could flip. But like you said, they're showing flashes, which is good. But we need to see some consistency. Will we see it? I'm not going to say we're going to see it anytime soon. As a fan, I wish to, but realistically, I don't think so.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Steve Brown with you. Let's talk about the rest of baseball for a second. Enough with the bad White Sox. The offense was a theme here this week because on Tuesday, leadoff hitters drove in a combined 30 runs. On Tuesday, that's the most RBI by leadoff hitters in a single day. I go away, since they officially, of course, made a stat in 1920. I'm talking about RBI. They did it back in 2019 and and even last year too in July. But the offense was a theme here this week, and I think for me, Baltimore, I think they're trying to kind of sort of. I don't say they're pulling away from from the Yankees in the AL East, but they did split their 2-gamer against. They had to come back, against the Nationals, but they did, split that series, that 2-gamer. But I think for me, if you're Baltimore, I know a lot of Oriole fans wanted that 2-game sweep, but look, it's kind of ebbs and flows. I mean, look, they got shut out in that game on Tuesday, but they were able to come back and won that second game to avoid that 2-game sweep.
I watched both those games, looking in its entirety for the Baltimore Orioles. Just like last year, you had to go through some things to learn what you can and cannot do, especially in tough situations. When you're a good, young, and talented ball club like Baltimore, and any successful club, you got to find ways to win. Sometimes things are not going to go your way. You got to find a way to win games, and they blew the game in the 9th inning on Wednesday, but they came back to win in extra innings. And we talk about the hitters all year long with Adley Rutschman, Anthony Santander, who had that big home run on Wednesday, and Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, and Cedric Mullins, to name a few. That is a talented lineup, but their pitching, especially their starting pitching, is starting to come around. And that's what you like to see from Baltimore. I think that's what hampered them in the playoffs last year, being swept by Texas.
Yeah, I think that was really the thing. So hopefully they're starting to heat things up. Now, saying in the AL East, Juan Soto, it's just, I think he's making, I don't know if he's like the front runner for MVP. I don't think we will talk about that this early, but he's had 49 hits, 33 RBIs, 26 walks, 9 home runs, 4 stolen bases. And 25 of those games were wins for the Yankees, and the only MLB player from any team to reach all of those numbers on his first 38 games with a new team. This, of course, Babe Ruth did back in 1926, I should say. So they had a rough week, the Yankees, but not a bad start if you're especially trying to get that big contract next season.
Yeah, you took care of the Astros in the process, beating them 2 out of 3 this week. And Soto, we talked about before the season started, like Kenny Hill's going to make a big difference in Atlanta with Aaron, hopefully with a healthy Aaron Judge. So far, so good as far as health wise, and Giancarlo Stanton, to name a few, to go along in that lineup. And so far, he's done the job. If you're the Yankees, hopefully you can re-sign him at the end of the season. But right now, for the Yankees, their offense is not not the problem. I'm not going to sit here and say they're starting pitching is the problem, because it's gotten itself straightened out over the last couple of weeks. But for the Yankees, it's about health and getting everybody clicking in the right note.
That's what you want. So it's going to be interesting. And things are getting kind of interesting in the AL West. The Raiders take 3 out of 4 against the A's, while the Mariners lost 3 out of 4 against the Twins, but even still, yeah. But look, I mean, I'm not freaking out. I mean, look, it happens. I mean, their pitching struggled. Their pitching didn't have a good show in those 3 games. But look, the ebbs and flow. I think it's just gonna go back and forth. I think between the Raiders and the Mariners. I don't think the Raiders are gonna pull away in the AL West. I just don't think see it happening.
I don't either. I got a question for you, Lakino. Who has the worst record in Major League Baseball in one-run games?
Oh, 1-run games. You would think it'd be it's not the Cubs. You would think it would be the Cubs, but it's not.
Nope. No Googling either.
No, I'm not Googling. Let's see. Losing runs. Oh dear.
3, 2, 1.
I don't know.
The Cincinnati Reds 1-7 in one-run games. They got swept this week by the Arizona Diamondbacks at home. I know Cincinnati's now 16-21 on the year. I'm not worried about them too much yet. I know Arizona had a ugly start to the season as well. It looks like they're starting to turn it around. But for Cincinnati, as we talked about with Baltimore earlier, if you're a good ball club for Cincinnati, if you want to reach the playoffs, you got to find ways to win when you're not playing your best. And one of the ways that we know that you're a good team, you win those one-run ball games. Right now, as I mentioned, they're 1-7 in one-run ball games, the worst winning percentage in that department in MLB.
Yeah, they've lost 8 in a row too. So not looking good so far for the folks down there in Cincinnati. So hopefully they can kind of figure things out. Now the Dodgers take care of business. They sweep the Marlins, so they've now won 6, I think 7 in a row. They've won. So they're starting to pull away in the AL West. The Padres, you thought that maybe they're just when you think they were figuring things out.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I know they didn't win the series against the Cubs, but yeah, I mean, they do face the Dodgers starting tonight. We'll get to the schedule in a second, but I'm sure the Dodgers will love to return the favor since the Padres beat them last time they played. They won like 2 out of 3 there, but I mean that West is going to be interesting. Well, outside the Dodgers, I think.
Yeah, San Diego got a great performance. Like I said, we'll get into that next hour with that guy's Mick Gillispie from Cubs Baseball channel from YouTube. But Dylan Cease, he's been very hot for the Padres. You saw what he did on on Wednesday, Ed Wrigley with the 12 strikeouts and 7 shutout innings. And the Padres, you could have made an argument they could have swept the Cubs if it wasn't for that Michael Busch home run in the 9th inning on Tuesday. But it was like they started to turn things around. They made their trade last week for Luis Ariz from the Miami Marlins. So it looks like they're starting to take off running. But like you said, they're going to have an important series this weekend to see if they can build off the momentum they had here in Chicago.
Phillies, of course, they finished out their 4-gamer from Monday against the Giants. They split their 2-gamer against Toronto. But I do like how the Phillies are playing so far. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see if they can keep it up with Atlanta. They struggle a little bit right now, so we'll see if they can kind of like keep within distance. And I don't think the Phillies are gonna pull away from the NL East, but it's gonna get a little bit tough. As we'll talk about the schedule in a second. But yeah, I like the way the Phillies are playing so far.
Yeah, staying in the NL East, the Atlanta Braves take care of the Boston Red Sox, and former Red Sox pitcher and 2018 World Series champion Chris Sale had a performance to remember on Wednesday against his former mates.
He's going to have to keep them afloat. So, yeah, he's going to be the ace there with Strider out for the rest of the year. So that's going to get a little bit interesting, especially in that when those two start playing each other. But we'll get to that later. Now to the schedule for this weekend. The Cubs started, I don't want to say this is a big series, but they play Pittsburgh. So we'll see if they can kind of get it going. Houston and Detroit. And let's see. I mean, the Rays, I know that they're I'm sure they're still smarting from the not being able to sweep the White Sox, finish up their season series, but they do host the Yankees, so I'm sure they would love to get a little get back there. The first game of this Apple TV Plus game tonight at 6:05, we got Baltimore hosting Arizona. That should be a fun one. Minnesota, Toronto, we'll see. Toronto, I don't like the way they've been playing lately, but we'll see if they can get together there against Minnesota. Well, they're on a roll too. Atlanta and the Mets at 6:10. That should be a fun one as well.
The rest of your weekend schedule looks like this. The Philadelphia Phillies will travel to Miami to take on the struggling Marlins. The Washington Nationals will visit Fenway Park to take on the Boston Red Sox. The Cardinals and Brewers will resume their 4-game series from the city of Milwaukee. Texas will visit Colorado. Kansas City will resume their West Coast road trip. Their 4-game weekend series at LA against the Angels, the Dodgers, and the Padres, as Lakina mentioned. Oakland at Seattle. That should be an interesting series this weekend. Both teams trying to get to that 500 mark. And the San Francisco Giants will host the Cincinnati Reds this weekend.
Cincy. The first game of the Kansas City Angels will be the second half of the Apple TV Plus doubleheader. Tonight, the FS1 game, we got the Braves and the Mets, 3:10 for that one. And your Fox regional coverage, I should say, you got Cincinnati and the Giants, and St. Louis and Milwaukee at 6:15 tomorrow. And your Sunday night game of the week is also the last game of that rubber match of that series, the Braves and the Mets.
And that's your schedule for MLB this weekend. As we break it down right here on Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago City, Lakina here with you. We got the NBA playoffs to discuss, Lakina. The Boston Celtics, they're running the same script as they did in the previous round against the Miami Heat, while OKC and Dallas are doing a little Texas two-step. And we'll get into that Stanley Cup Playoffs. The Dallas Stars, they're doing a little flip-flopping. We'll discuss that and a whole lot more as you stay right there as the Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports continues right here on Sports Zone.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You find my Keita McGee on the Twitter, again, the IG.
We have less than 70 minutes left for this extravaganza. Miscount my minutes. We have less than 80 minutes left of this extravaganza. We call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And as we turn our attention now to the NBA playoffs, we had two games that were played last night. We'll start off in the Eastern Conference where the Boston Celtics dropped Game 2 at home to the Cleveland Cavaliers by the score of 118-94. Donovan Mitchell had 29 points, including 5 or 7 shooting from downtown. Evan Mobley, who I had questions about over the last couple of years, Cleveland's big man, he stepped up big time, scoring 21 points. 11 of those points came in the first quarter. Overall, he had 21 points and 10 rebounds. Also, too, Darius Garland had 14 points and 7 rebounds for the Cleveland Cavaliers. On the flip side for the Boston Celtics, they shot the ball at a 41% clip overall, but they shot the ball terribly from three-point range at 22%. Jason Tatum had 25 points, but he only shot it 7 out of 17 times overall, and that was not good. Jaylen Brown had 19 points, but he was 0 for 6 from downtown. And for the Boston Celtics, people talk about their resolve all year long. They really didn't have to go through too much of a struggle during the regular season. Of course, in the last round, they lost Game 2 to the Miami Heat, but got their acts together to win the next 3 games to close out their series with the Miami Heat. Could the same said here in this Cleveland series? They will beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, but I think going to Cleveland now, I think it is going to be a split. Game 1, Boston had Cleveland's number. Cleveland were fatigued coming off their 7-game series against Orlando, but going back home, I think Boston's going to win this series, but I think Cleveland's going to at least get one on their home court. They're going to make Boston.
They just got to stop playing game twos. I mean, the game twos are really kind of what they played horribly against Miami in their game 2 in the first round, and now they did not play. They didn't shoot the ball well from 3, especially last night. So for me, I think Boston. I think Boston will win this series in 5 or 6, but they caught them at a time, especially not having a good day in the 3-point line. So it is what it is. But I mean, look, Cleveland did what they had to do. Mobley step up. They're gonna have to do it more consistently. Darius Garland's got to step up a little bit too. So yeah, I think the key is that if Cleveland wants to push this to 6 or 7, the guys are gonna have to step up. But I know they've had injuries all season, on and off for some of these guys. But they gotta, Max Strus gonna have to step up a little bit more. Their bench guys got to step up. I know George Niang hit a couple of shots to kind of put the game away for them. So yeah, it's really gonna have to depend on what they do now. As far as Boston's concerned, I mean, look, Tatum and Brown, I mean, look, they did their thing. Al Horford showing a little bit the fountain of youth there. But outside of that, their bench is going to have to step up big time. And that's really going to be the key if they want to try to put the series away in Cleveland, especially.
Yeah, we talked about this all year long, Lakina. The one weakness that we were concerned about was Boston's bench. Outside of their backup point guard, Pritchard, who scored 13 points. Sam Hauser, who I was raving about early in the season. He only had 2 points. While you didn't get anything else from your bench, that's still the one concern that I have for Boston is their bench. I know rotation shortened during the playoffs, but like you said, they got to get more scoring production out of their bench.
And going into another number 1 seed, the Mavs got a big win over KC, and it's interesting because both the Thunder and the Celtics were outscored by a combined 33 points last night. That's the worst combined scoring margin by the number 1 seeds of both conferences when playing on the same day. So, and that actually includes also the other number 1 seeds from the divisions, the formations, back when it did back in the early 70s. So Luka did his thing, and Kyrie was great last night, but it was really their supporting guys that got it going there for the Mavs.
Yeah, PJ Washington tied for the team lead in points with 29. Tim Hardaway Jr., we've been critical of with respect, not just to him, to his daddy, who's from Chicago. He stepped up big with 17 big points off the bench last night, too, including 2 for 4 from downtown, 6 of 10 shooting from overall. As we talked about with this Dallas Mavericks team, they're a very good defensive team, but it all starts with Luka Doncic, who has also had 29 points last night. It starts with Doncic and Kyrie, but who's going to be that 3rd or 4th guy to help them out? It was PJ Washington and Tim Hardaway Jr. from the bench last night.
Got to do it consistently, though. They want to stick with the Thunder. Now, the Thunder, unfortunately, you got to think, lack of experience. You got to wonder, is that going to kind of become a deterrent? They only shot 33% from 3. They really depend on that 3-point shot a lot. And that let them down yesterday. So, I'm a little surprised. I'm sure SGA will probably, he had 33 points. But Chet Holmgren needs to do a little bit more. Josh Gade's got to do a little bit more. It's going to be their supporting guys, because I think that's going to be the key in this series, I feel like.
Yeah, you didn't get too much from your bench last night. If you're OKC, you didn't. My guy Jalen Williams had a good game with 20 points, including 2 for 4 shooting from downtown. As you mentioned, SGA had a great game for them. Outside of that, you really didn't get anything. Josh Giddey, you mentioned, struggled, including 0 for 2 from downtown. But Oklahoma City, they had to start knocking down shots once again. Unlike in game 1, with everything went in, it didn't go in from the outside in game 2. They shot the ball from 3-point range at a 33% clip. That's not going to get it done in today's NBA. So this series is going back to Dallas this weekend. I'll be shocked. Call me crazy, Kenneth. I'll be shocked. This isn't a 2-2 split by the time we get back here next week. Oklahoma City is still good, but Oklahoma City is going to have to adjust what the Dallas Mavericks defense gives them, because we say this every year. We're going to say it again this year. After game 3, there are no more adjustments. There's no more surprising schemes, schematics, and things of that nature. Everybody knows your plays, or who could rise to the occasion and make the most big plays down the stretch.
Going into these the other two conference semifinal games that are both up 2-2. We'll start with the Denver Minnesota. They go at it tonight, and it's gonna be interesting to see if Minnesota can kind of keep it up. They've been dominant. Denver, just outclassing them, out defending them. Now they have the Nuggets have had 3 days to try to see if they can if they have answers for Anthony Edwards, Cat. Rudy they actually shot the ball well, even without Rudy Gobert, of course, celebrated the birth of his first child. It's going to be interesting to see what they have. And also shout out to Chris Finch for going through that surgery for that torn meniscus, and is going through just good old Tylenol, not using painkillers, because you know how painkillers can get to do to people. So got commended for that. But yeah, I mean, can Denver try to make this a series?
They want to have to, and we talked about it on Monday. Like, can the other guys go out to step up? We know that Jamal Murray, who did something stupid, he's lucky he wasn't suspended for tonight's game. He threw a hitting pad at a referee, and thank goodness it missed, or else he'll be suspended. I know he got fined $100K, but outside of that, Jamal Murray, we know he's playing Gibby, but he has to step up. Aaron Gordon, my guy, he has to step up. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has to step up as well. And don't forget about Jokic, Lakina. Congratulations on him winning his third MVP out in 4 years, but the way that Minnesota is playing defense on him, it's been remarkable. The shots that the Jokic usually makes, he's not making them. Minnesota's rotation defensively, especially on the pick and roll, has been excellent. We talk about Karl Anthony Towns. We talk about Rudy Gobert, which they had the best defensive ever without him. But we mentioned him in the last episode. Let's not forget about Naz Reid. He did a hell of a job defensively, but he had a great game offensively in game 2 as well.
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see if they can kind of get it going. The arena in Minneapolis is gonna be rocking, so I'm sure tonight. So we'll see if they can, if Minnesota can put the defending champs away. Now going to this other game that'll be tonight. Game 3, Indiana. You were up big on Wednesday, but then you ended up. I don't know what happened there. You just the wheels started falling off, and I know Rick Carlisle, said some things. Yeah, I mean, he didn't really lie, but unfortunately got fined $35,000. So, I mean, did he lie though? What he said? But yeah, I mean, Jalen Brunson. I mean, he's the first NBA player to score at least 40 points in 4 straight playoff games, which again, something that's never been done before. Oddly enough, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But yeah, I mean, the Pacers going to have to try to look. I don't know what the Pacers can do. I mean, OG Anunoby is going to be out the rest of the series, so hopefully we can kind of take advantage of that talk about the Pacers. But they really need to step up on their scoring if they can't do it with the defense.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull one of your numbers. Miles Turner, game 2, 6 points. What happened, buddy? Where were you, buddy? Tyrese Halliburton, he had a great game 2 with 34 points after scoring just 9 points in game 1. Lakina, you can really make the argument that the Pacers should be up 2-0 in this series. You can make that argument, but realistically, this series should be tied at a game apiece. Now, on the flip side for the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson, who injured his foot early in that first half on Wednesday in game 2, he had 5 points in that first half, came back in the second half and scored 24 points. But shout out to Dante DiVincenzo and shout out to Isaiah Hartenstein, those supporting castmates. They really helped Jalen Brunson and the Knicks carry on in game 2, because you saw the difference in that Knicks team. Like you say, the Knicks are battling injuries right now with now OG Anunoby, you said, being gone for the rest of the series. Don't forget Mitchell Robinson is out again, so you're down 2 guys. So if you're Tom Thibodeau, your mission is to win 2 games in Indianapolis. I don't know if that's going to happen now with you being shorthanded now, but going back to Wednesday's game, you saw the difference between Brunson being in that lineup and Brunson being out, especially being shorthanded now. So if you're the Knicks, your mission is to get 2 games in Indianapolis this weekend. I don't know if that's going to happen, because I think Indiana, they're stupid after what happened on Wednesday where they gave 1 away. But the Knicks, they're going to be in a dogfight, and they got to be ready for it.
And if you're the Pacers, you gotta win these next 2 in Indy. You got to, because if the Knicks just win 1, the series is pretty much over. So you don't want to go back. You don't want to go back to MSG down 3-1. You want to have get back there tied. So hopefully they can get it done tonight. Now both of those games, the Pacers hosting the Knicks and Nuggets battling the T-Wolves on the respective game 3s will both be on ESPN as part of the Friday night doubleheader.
And look in before we give out the rest of the schedule for tomorrow and Sunday. What did you think about Reggie Miller calling Game 2 for TNT? I know him and Spike had that great moment before the game, which was cool and all, but I was listening to one of those sports radio stations in NYC, and one of their midday hosts was starting complaining, like, why they have Reggie during that game? I get the whole Knicks Pacers thing, but why did they have him do that? I thought it was just a little hyperbole to me, but I love to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 30 years. I know Knicks fans are so
Exactly.
miffed about what Reggie Miller did to them, but I mean, whatever. I mean, look, it's been 30 years, folks. I mean, it's fine. We'll see if we'll get these kind of moments in this series. As like I said, tomorrow you got OKC and Dallas. We'll see. Both are 1-1. Those are going to be on ABC at 2:30, and the nightcap will be the Celtics and the Cavs at 7:30 on ABC.
Your schedule for Sunday, the NBA playoffs looks like this at 2:30 on ABC. This is Chicago time. The Knicks and the Pacers, Game 4 from Indianapolis, followed by Denver and Minnesota, Game 4 from the Target Center. That's at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time on TNT. So that's your schedule for the NBA playoffs for this weekend.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Keenan McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Let's do that hockey real quick, Sid, as they're also in their conference semifinals and going into
Carolina Panthers. They blew game. Let's be honest. They blew Game 2 at MSG. They played well the first two periods. Actually, led 3-2 going into the third, but they gave up the tying goal late. And then I thought they played well in that first overtime, but they ran out of gas in the second overtime the other night. And then, of course, last night, I'm not going to say the bottom fell out, but you could pretty much tell with that overtime winner, the bottom fell out last night. Not to rub it in, I'll just tell you folks what happened.
Yeah, and of course, Attorney Panarin and the bread man. I still say, he should still be the Hawks uniform, but again, I digress. Of course, the game winner for the Rangers, they're now 3-0. I'm not going to say the series is over, but if you're Carolina, you're probably smarting. And of course, Rob Brindamore's future with the club is in question too. So I think all that's weighing on the Canes' minds. So hopefully, I don't know what's going to happen, but it looks like. And oddly enough, though, they're 7-0. The last time they were 7-0, talking about the Rangers. When was it the last time, Sid?
1994 when they won the Stanley Cup.
Yay! Ding, 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 ding. And he didn't use words. But I mean, yeah. But I mean, it's I'm disappointed so far. Hopefully, it can win over the weekend. But it's gonna be tough, my guy. It's gonna be tough for the Canes to come back. It looks like the Rangers are they're laser focused. They're on a mission.
Yep. And you have to give the players and the coaching staff credit for that. Also, too, last night the Dallas Stars, unlike in Game 1 when they blew a 4-1 lead, this time last night they held on to a 5-3 win over the Colorado Avalanche, tying that best of 7 series in the second round of the Western Conference playoffs at a game apiece. We know that scoring is a top priority for both of these teams. I still think Colorado is a better team overall, but Dallas showed some stones last night to get a split on their home ice.
Yeah, I think that was they really needed that because they don't want to go down outside Denver down 2-0. So I'm glad that they were able to kind of at least get that one game to kind of get that out the way, and hopefully can get it going over the weekend. So we don't know too. Look, hopefully there's no fighting, but we don't have to go there. But this should be a fun series though, nonetheless. Now tomorrow, Florida and Boston, they tied at 1. So it's going to be interesting to see, who's going to get that pivotal Game 3 because both teams were able to kind of take advantage and sort of blew the other out those first 2 games. So we'll see if whoever wins Game 3 takes control tonight.
We said this was going to be a physical series coming in. Shout out to our guy Brewhouse7. He says his wife's a Bruins fan. He needed to get it. The Bruins were undisciplined in Game 2. David Pastrnak, you don't want to see your best player fighting. I get it. You sticking up for your team. Take one for the team. But that was just an ugly sight. And thank goodness he really didn't get seriously injured. But this is a rematch from last year's playoffs. If you're Boston, you're trying to seek revenge. What happened last year, blowing that 3-1 lead. Florida, you're playing with house money right now, especially the way that you easily dismissed the Tampa Bay Lightning in the previous round. I think I said this will go at least 6 games. I wouldn't be surprised if it went the full 7, but I think tonight's game is the critical game of this series. I think if Boston wins, I'm not going to say this series is over, but they'll definitely take control of the series.
The Battle of Canada, Vancouver got the best of Edmonton in game 1, so they play game 2 tonight. Now, if you're Edmonton, you're probably smart because you really felt like you should have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see how they bounce back tonight.
Yeah, if like you say, you're Edmonton, you had a chance to steal game 1 on Vancouver's home ice. We talked about Vancouver being a young, hot, skilled team led by Elias Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go, Lakina. The Oilers have been knocking at the door over the last 2 or 3 years, and games like this, you should learn your lesson from. They've been there before. I expect to be a low-scoring, tight-checking game tonight. And I expect the Oilers to win game 2. I know this is the first time Vancouver is really going through it as a group for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's not bad. It's a bad thing. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. But for Edmonton, they've been there before, and I expect a better effort out of them tonight.
We'll see if they can bounce back. Now, incidentally, it's going to be the Turner weekend, so all these games are going to be on TNT and TBS this weekend. Now, the Friday games are about Florida and Boston, game 3, and Vancouver hosting Edmonton in game 2. 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we're supposed to be on TNT.
Your Saturday games for tomorrow looks like this. Is another TNT doubleheader. This is for Saturday tomorrow. Rangers and Hurricanes, game 4 from Carolina. Rangers lead this best of 7 series, 3 games to none. That's at 6 o'clock. Followed by Dallas at Colorado, game 3 in that series. That best of 7 series is tied at the game in piece. That's at 9 o'clock tomorrow night, Saturday, also on TNT.
Now, these games Sunday will be on TBS. You got Florida and Boston. We'll see where it is by then. That'll be at 5:30 on TBS. And at 8:30 on TBS, we go up north, across the way to Edmonton. As we'll see where this is, by then. Will it be tied 1-1, or will Vancouver have a 2-0 lead going into Sunday?
Shout out to I got Brewhouse 7 against as a Canadian. I got a root for Edmonton. They have more Canadian players.
Yeah. Fair enough. I got you.
I think that's going to be a long series as well. So a great comment from him. And that's your schedule for the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs for this weekend. Stay tuned for more sports.
Wait, hold on. What about the NHL draft? Now the Hawks just missed.
Oh, that's right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, number 2. They just missed it. San Jose ended up getting the number 1 pick. So I mean, look, they actually had better odds, than they did last year. The Hawks did. So I mean, I wasn't too bummed. Okay, yeah, we're number 2 again. It was basically anybody but the Blackhawks this time. Yeah. So. But I know, you saw Kyle Davis's smirk on his face before they announced number 1 pick. That would have been hilarious if they're like, oh no, not again.
Yeah, no more Orlando Magic in the NHL. But I think he'll be smart and pick a score to go along with Connor Bedard. We'll see what happens with that. But as I said before, before the season started, I'm giving the Blackhawks 3 years to make the playoffs, including what happened this year. They got 2 more years to get it right. So GM Kyle Davidson said he's putting the pressure on himself and his staff to get it right. He's putting pressure on head coach Luke Richardson to get some more effort out of those players. We'll see what happens. I think they'll have a better roster going into 2025.
And they got there's 20 guys they can get. So we just see what who he picks. And I think they got even more picks before that. So my house, yes, your house they get 5th. So yeah, more rebuilding. So but they'll be okay. I think they'll be okay, Brewhawk. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll. They're definitely going to be up there. And same thing with the Sharks. I think Mike Greer's got something going on there, and Pat Verdeek, of course, with the Ducks. So yeah, it's gonna happen though. Oh yeah, we are. Yeah, Brewhog, the hospital looking up. Yes, they are. So yeah, should we just see what happens?
Now stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports continues with Mick Gillispie and Miss Christine the Queen Manika. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all.
Are you not paying attention? Are you texting?
I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6.
It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on a fun Friday edition. We're live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Mr. Kim McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kim McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
If you have any questions or comments for us, especially for our next guest as we get into some Chicago Cubs baseball talk, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Look in and we'll get them up on the screen for you. And just to daily remind you, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in living color right now on Roku TV.
All right, so one thing we've been trying to do here, and we've been doing it for the last few years, especially on Second City Sports, is to bring on new people to fresh perspectives and fresh things happening. So we got another one coming up right now. So introduce him, please.
Yes, he is Mr. Mick Gillispie. He's the host of the Cubs baseball channel podcast on YouTube. You can follow him on Twitter, X at Broadcaster Mick. That's Broadcaster Mick, M-I-C-K. That's Broadcaster Mick, M-I-C-K. Let's bring on Mr. Gillispie to the program. Mick, how are you, my friend?
Hey, what's up, guys? What do you say?
I think
you're doing great. How about yourself?
Man, doing great. Doing great. You guys got me excited. I'm ready to go now too.
That's what we do. That's what we do here. We get you hyped up. So, all right, Mick. I know the bullpen for the Cubs has been a big issue. I know it's been giving me. I know it's been giving you ulcers too. So, there have been names flown around, perhaps that I know Michael Kopech. I know there was another. I forgot that it was an A's relief pitcher. I forgot his name. That might be a good fit as well. So, what do you think? What do you think the Cubs need to do to beef up that bullpen?
Well, I think they're looking for options right now. The starting pitching's been amazing, right? And then the bullpen's had such a huge drop off with Adbert Alzolay, who was just amazing last year up until he got hurt, closing games. So then you don't have him. And Julian Mayweather being out, that hurts a lot. When's he going to return? And Hector Neris somehow gets saves, but it always kind of feels like he's about to lose it. So I don't know. I want, if they're going to go out and make a trade, I just don't want to see another Jose Cuas trade. You know, if you're going to give up a lot of the talent that the Cubs have in their system right now, which is the reason why the Cubs are right there at the top of the division, even though they didn't have Seiya Suzuki, Cody Bellinger, Dansby Swanson hasn't produced. Ian Happ has been struggling too, and they've still been able to stay at the top. It's because they have so much depth in their farm system. And I would hate to see another trade where you go get a middle of the road reliever that really isn't going to help you much. And Cuas is in the minor leagues now, you know, so you gave up Nelson Velasquez, who I thought was a really good prospect. And there's other guys that they have a very good farm system. I'm not saying don't make a trade, but I'm saying if you're going to make a deal, let's go out and get somebody elite. You know, I love Michael Kopech. If you could go to the White Sox, who have, I wonder, talked about this on my show yesterday. I wonder if the Iowa Cubs could beat the White Sox. I mean that, like in a game. I mean, like, I think that the Cubs AAA team is good enough to beat the White Sox today. Now, the White Sox are moving in the right direction finally, but maybe you get him, you know, and turn him into a closer. And he's got the kind of stuff that could, you know, help you close out games. But if you're going to go out and make a deal at this point and you're going to give up some of your best farm talent, you've got to get someone that's going to come in and be an elite stopper, you know, a Wade Davis type, a Aroldis Chapman type, you know, but in their prime. And so I've seen some of the, you know, the talk. I don't know anyone on the Marlins that's going to help this Cubs team. When you look at I know the Marlins made the trade with the Padres, but I don't know. I mean, I look at that bullpen and I'm like, hey, there's a reason why they stink so bad, you know, and part of that is that they don't have a good bullpen. If you make a deal with the A's and you try to get their closer, guess what? They're going to fleece you of your best players. So just know that they're not going to make a deal with you and miss. They're going to want Owen Casey. You know, they're going to want James Triantos. And if you start giving up guys like that, you're going to be in the same predicament that Theo left the Cubs in, where the next wave was gone because he traded away 3 waves.
Speaking of another unsung hero with the pitching for the Cubs right now, Hayden Wesneski. I know he failed as a fifth starter last year, but he was great out of the bullpen. I know he in his last couple of starts he's been great, but the Cubs have really given him no run support. What do you see his role this year? Do you think he'll go back to the bullpen, or do you think he'll be in the back end of the rotation for right now?
I've been amazed at how well he's pitched, because he's been great. And Craig Counsell has been so positive about him. You know, remember he had the game where he flew in and had to pitch in Arizona in relief and ended up throwing 4 amazing innings. And then he's come, you know, now he's a starter again and he's doing great as a starter. And Craig Counsell seems to like really, and it may just be a confidence thing. I don't know, but he said some really excellent things about complimentary about Wesneski. Wesneski's always had the stuff, but it's been, you know, how do you take that slider that's just a wipeout slider, so good, and mix it in and have success in the big leagues? And he's figured that out. The rotation to me is going to be very interesting, because you got Kyle Hendricks pitching again on Sunday, right? So what's going to happen there? I mean, is he going to come back? And if he comes back, is he going to the bullpen? Wesneski's already proven that he is a good, viable option out of the bullpen. So I would not be surprised if you didn't slide him back there. I'm curious to see who starts on Sunday. I don't know if you saw where it's a TBA. Is that going to be Ben Brown? Maybe Ben Brown goes to the bullpen and you keep Wesneski. So I think that it's a good problem to have as you get healthy. You know, adding Justin Steele, obviously, you know, kind of mix things up a little bit, because now he's back in the rotation. You can get some of those guys that have done so well as starters and put them in the bullpen, and it's only going to help you.
Do you think Kyle Henderson get right, or the very least see, not necessarily like the Kyle Henderson we saw during the World Series years, but to at least kind of like be serviceable?
Yeah. Well, I hope so. You know, I hope so. I saw him pitch in Tennessee and he looked pretty good. You know, I mean, he was pitching more off of his slider than I noticed when he was in Chicago earlier this year. when it ends for you in the major leagues, it ends poorly. I mean, for everybody. Willie Mays, the best player of all time, maybe, and look at his last year. I mean, it's just not. That's the way that it kind of ends. You get beat up pretty fast when that time comes, and so I'm just curious to know if that time has come as well. I've always been a big believer in Kyle, and I still am, but he doesn't have the velocity to miss with his pitches, and so he's going to have to use more deception. And I think that's what his game plan has been as he's rehabbed his back in the minor leagues. Maybe pitch off of breaking balls more. Third time through the rotation, they've clubbed him. Second time through the rotation, he's been hit hard. So maybe you move him to the bullpen and you say, hey, you know what? Can you give us 6 outs? And that may be, something that's a lot more attainable to him than being a starter. I love him. I love everything that he's represented for the Cubs, but I'm not sure that it's not over. And I hope I'm wrong, but it just kind of feels like it could be the end of the story. Now, with that said, maybe he's a right-handed Jamie Moyer, figures it out, and then all of a sudden, he's pitching under bat speed and getting outs and all that stuff for, 4 or 5 more years.
We're hanging out with our new buddy, Mr. Mick Gillispie. He's from the Cubs baseball channel on YouTube. He's hanging out here with us on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sailor Kenny here with you, talking Chicago Cubs baseball. Mick, I want to talk to you about Shota Imanaga. He has an ERA over 1, and he's been great so far. We're posting a 5-0 record. The Cubs have won all 7 of his starts. The game against the San Diego Padres the other night, I could understand why Craig Counsell left him in there in the 8th inning before Jerks and Porfar hit that home run to give the Padres the brief lead. But did you agree with that decision? And because Imanaga was still under 100 pitches at the time.
Yeah, I mean, first off, if they had a bullpen, they probably would have pulled him out, but they don't, right? So it's like any extra outs that you can get is going to help that bullpen because it's less outs that they have to get. One of the things I always liked about baseball in the past and what I don't like now is that in the past, you were expected to try to go 7 innings. These days it's like 5 or 6 innings and then, everybody's ready to pull you out. Go look at Fergie Jenkins's career numbers. How many complete games did he have? How many in a season did he have? Go look at 69, for example. We've changed our philosophy on the game of baseball to where now 5 innings in and we're ready to go get the bullpen. And I liked it better when starters were really featured, like, hey man, this is going to be, Greg Maddux against John Smoltz, when Greg was pitching for the Cubs, or, whoever the Cardinals had, and it almost felt like a fight, like you'd see the rotation and who's going to pitch against each other every day. Imanaga's been amazing. Like he's the still kind of a comparison from my buddy Tony Andracki with Marquis. It's almost like watching Jake Arrieta when he came with the Cubs. The off-speed stuff's been great. He's mesmerizing hitters. He's changing speeds. He couldn't have made a better impression on us from the time that he arrived and had his press conference up until his last start. And what I really loved about that game is that when he gave up the 2-run homer and the Cubs were behind, that the team basically went out there and said, tied it, and then obviously, bushwhacked them at the end of the game and walked them off, right? So I think he's been amazing. I give Jed Hoyer a lot of credit, not only for signing him, but signing him to a deal that makes sense for both sides. There's a lot of incentives in there, and I'm excited to see him pitch every time he goes out.
It's almost deaf on the bats for the Cubs. I mean, I know Dansby Swanson. I know he's back now, of course. It has been kind of lately. Some people are saying that maybe folks should send him down or DFA him. So what do you think about Hap's performance, if you will?
He's one of those guys who, since I've started the Cubs baseball channel, seems to always be around the middle of Cubs fans, right? Like they're really polarizing. Either they can't stand the way he plays, or they really love him. Ian Happ, I liked him at leadoff because he switch hits and he walks a lot. He was getting on base. His defense is Gold Glove caliber. I don't think he's a star player. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's a star player. And honestly, I think that the Cubs have so many outfielders that are coming up from their system that if he wasn't signed to a big deal, that he might be challenged for his position, you know? But I don't know. I mean, you got to give him credit because he does things to help the team win. And, you know, and I honestly, like when he bats leadoff, I really like him out there, you know, but when last year, when David Ross kept him batting third, it just felt like he didn't bring the type of production to make that spot in the lineup work for him.
Let's talk about Christopher Morel. Emil Aquino said here in the offseason said that the Cubs should have won after Matt Chapman. Of course, now he's with San Francisco. But now Christopher Morel has brought the bat out to start the year. He leads the team in home runs and RBIs, but he's getting pulled late in games in place of Nick Madrigal in the late innings due to defense. First of all, talk about Christopher Morel's bat, and do you expect this trend to continue as the season goes along, him being pulled in the late innings for Madrigal?
Well, I was one of the people that didn't want to sign Matt Chapman because I felt like if you didn't have – if Morel couldn't do the job, which he's getting better defensively, but look, it has not been easy to watch at times. He's had to adjust his game a lot. But I'll tell you, like, just watching him recently, the way that he throws the ball to first base, his mechanics have changed and his accuracy has changed. He's starting to really look the part. And somebody got on my channel and they're like, you know, Ron Santo committed 30 some errors because he was moving from catcher to third base, you know, early in his career. You got to give him time. And I'm seeing it. You know what? I'm seeing it. I'm seeing that he's figuring it out. And then and I love the idea of bringing in Madrigal as a late inning replacement because, you know, Nick's an excellent defender, but he just doesn't bring the pop to the lineup that Morel brings. You know, Morel at the plate is maturing as a hitter, and I want to see him continue. The walks to me are the most important part of what he's doing because he's got the power to hit a home run at any point. I mean, look, he hit 3 home runs in 3 straight games and 4 all total last week, right? In different games, and they were all big home runs. So the thing you worry about with him is he chases a lot, but if he's walking, he's not chasing, he's forcing them to throw him strikes. He's just becoming a more patient hitter. And I think that eventually his defense will be comfortable enough where the Cubs could leave him in late in games. I'm not there with it yet because of a lot of the routine errors he makes, but he also makes some amazing plays and he is electric. You know, his nickname was Electric Factory back when he was coming up through the minors, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. You know, you talk to the prospects that the Cubs have that are from the Dominican, and they really admire him. You know, he's almost like a big brother to guys like Kevin Alcantara, who, you know, want to be the next wave of guys to help the Cubs. But Morel, you know, he was mentored by Wilson Contreras, and he's kind of, you know, taken that and he's helped out a lot of the young Dominican guys that the Cubs have that are talented and that could help the team win. So he does a lot of different things besides just hit home runs. And to me, he has the potential to be an all-star this year. Think about that.
Yeah, hopefully he does. Let's talk about the younger guys for the Cubs. Of course, PCA, Michael Busch, you know, who they got from the Dodgers, has been amazing. Of course, he had that walk-off in game 2 of that series against the Padres. So especially Busch, are you surprised by what these younger Cubs have been able to do?
Well, I was surprised last year when I call him Hollywood Pete Crow Armstrong got to the big leagues and didn't perform and looked scared, you know, nervous, uncomfortable because I think that he is a potential star. And you're seeing it now. The way that he covers the outfield is better than it. He was he's the best minor league defender in the whole minor leagues. And so we didn't see that last year. We saw drops because of the sun and, the game in Colorado last year. And then he was like 0 for 14 or something at the plate. And I kept telling people, I think he's going to hit a home run in his first at bat, but then he struggled a little bit coming back and then had the home run to beat Houston. And I'm going, okay, that I saw it. See, he plays with a swag, he's got to have that step of confidence. And I didn't see that last year. He looked overwhelmed and that home run came and now I see it again. Some guys have to have that, Reggie Jackson had to have that, like there's just guys that play the game and there's a confidence that they have to be able to go out there and perform. And that's what he brings to the table. But the Cubs don't have a better defender than him. He runs the bases as well as anyone. He's super aggressive. I don't know if he's going to end up back in the minor leagues when Seiya Suzuki comes back as early as today. But if it was me and I was making the roster, I'd keep him up there just for the base running and the defense. And also just to be around it and be part of it and not worry about going back down. Worry about doing the things that you got to do to play every day, which I think is, is something that could happen. And then Michael Busch, what a find by the Cubs. I've been really complimentary of Jed Hoyer, and when you're the person in charge, like people were going to take shots at you. I mean, that's kind of part of it, right? But this was another like really good move that he pulled off in the offseason in his front office to say, hey, there's a guy the Dodgers have that is killing it in the minor leagues, hasn't produced in the big leagues. What if we go out and get this guy? Tell him it's his job to play first base every day, even though he hadn't done that since college, and see what we get. And it hasn't been, it hasn't been all easy for Busch, but I'll tell you what, he's held his own. He's looked the part. He had that road trip where he was hitting all the home runs, including, against a bunch of those West Coast teams, and then that walk-off. But I've really enjoyed watching him and what he brings to the table. I think he's solidified that first base is his position. And I think that's why when the Cubs DFA'd Garrett Cooper, he was an insurance policy. And it's like, hey, we don't need that insurance policy anymore. This is our guy. He's going to play here. And then, obviously Cody Bellinger can slide over there if you need somebody else to play first.
We're heading down the home stretch with the guy Mick Gillispie from the Cubs baseball channel on YouTube right here. He's hanging out with us right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. I want to talk about Mike Tauchman. Mick, looks like this guy, we saw what kind of year he had last year. He was one of the difference makers heading down the stretch before the Cubs fell short of the playoffs this year. Looks like wherever you plug him into the lineup, he's coming up with big hits. Me personally, I will, if I was Craig Counsell, I would have him in the lineup every day. It should be available for somebody else to back him up. Where do you see Mike Tauchman right now, and where do you see his stats ending up at the end of the season?
Look, when the Cubs needed some help, he was definitely there. I mean, he jumped up and took advantage of the opportunity when it presented itself. And I like Mike Tauchman. And I like the way he plays. He's kind of a dirtbag type player. He's going to go out there and just hustle. And his uniform is always, just got grass on it or dirt and all that. And in baseball, that's a huge compliment. I don't know if Tom is a everyday star player. I feel like maybe he gets exposed over the course of a season, but I feel like in spurts, he's so effective, right? He's like in wrestling when you tag the guy in and he comes out and he just brings all that energy, I've enjoyed watching him. Cubs wouldn't be where they are right now without him. And, I think he's really, anybody that's not like one of the big star players on this team is going to have to establish themselves because there's so many good players that are coming, in the system. Mm-hmm. And I think Tauchman's kind of put himself in that spot. Like all he's got to do is keep doing what he's doing. And he's going to keep on playing. And it's not hard to like a guy who gives 110% every time he's out there.
Now, you do have another podcast, Bama Tailgate, and I wanted to ask you because I'm the college football fan of the two of
Yeah.
us here, Mick. And Kalen DeBoer, of course, takes over for the legendary Nick Saban. Of course, DeBoer led Washington national championship game. Of course, they, unfortunately got their butts kicked by Michigan. So, what do you think? What do you think he's going to do? To kind of keep the momentum, the prestige of the Alabama program.
Yeah. I graduated from Alabama, so covering this team has been just like with the Cubs. I became a Cubs fan as a kid, and then I've worked with the Cubs for 20 years, not only doing my channel, but in the system, doing stuff with the minor leagues, and then the Cubs webcast used to do that with Len Casper for like a decade, and I've been covering Alabama since the 90s, right? So these are my two things. My two passions are Cubs baseball and Alabama football. And I have really been super impressed by Kalen DeBoer. The path to success is going to be different compared to Nick Saban. Nick Saban was a no-nonsense, in your face, going to tell you how it is, my way or the highway guy. And it works. It works for him. But Kalen DeBoer is a down-to-earth, happy-go-lucky, really super nice guy who doesn't cuss. I don't know if he drinks. I think he's just a really straight-edge guy. But at the same time, like, he has proven that there is a path for him. It doesn't mean one guy's more competitive than the other guy. But we spent covering Alabama since 2007, Nick Saban, in the media, and very rarely did interviews, was combative in press conferences, very focused on what he would use the press conferences basically to yell at the football team. And that worked. We got that. Hey, when you keep winning championships, people are like, hey, think about if he went and was coaching the Bears, and instead of being, a loser franchise, all of a sudden you're winning all the time. Us in the media were like, hey, man, I mean, we're getting yelled at right now by the coach, but the Bears have won the Super Bowl 7 times in the last, 10 or 15 years. Like, it'd be like when Michael Jordan was with the Bulls, and we won all those games. I mean, it didn't matter. I mean, how it worked, right? It worked. And that's been the case for Saban. But DeBoer's come in, and he's tried to adopt some of the culture that Saban left. There's something called the fourth quarter program, and that was where the guys work out really hard in the off season, and they want to win the fourth quarter, which is something that Alabama has done an excellent job of since Saban got there. DeBoer kept that. Jalen Milroe, who's going to be a contender for the Heisman Trophy winner, for the Heisman Trophy award, and and Alabama is in the top. I think they're number 7 in the preseason polls because of him. He'll be, listed as a first round pick if things go his way. DeBoer's come in and he's working on teaching him the new offense. He's a super athletic quarterback. So honestly, it's been pretty good transition. The biggest thing is that when Saban left, a lot of the secondary left with him and transferred to other places. Ohio State, I want to say they spent just under $14 million buying players from other programs, which is legal now somehow. And they bought Alabama's best player, Caleb Downs, but they lost guys in that secondary to Georgia and Florida State and Auburn and Ole Miss. And so they've had to kind of rebuild that. They did get Keon Sabb, safety from Michigan, out of the portal, and they've picked in some spots with the portal, but that's the area where I'm worried about with Alabama and DeBoer. But I think that the offense for Alabama is going to be as strong as it's been since they had maybe Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian as the offensive coordinator. Alabama is going to be dangerous. I think. I don't know that they're going to win all their games, but they're going to be a dangerous team.
All right, Mick, before we let you go, tell people out there, and I know you have some followers listening and watching us right now, so and thank you for bringing your audience over to our show, to our channel. Where can people follow your work, and where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, well, first off, the Cubs baseball channel. It's my baby on YouTube. It's been just a great time getting to know everyone in the audience and the comments and everything on there. And guys, you guys are always welcome to come swing over too. And then the football channel is Bama Tailgate on YouTube. So those are my 2 channels, and then at Broadcaster Mick on the socials.
All right, yeah, we'll
Thanks,
definitely
guys.
have you on. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have you on for college football talk during the season. Of course, we may have you on later this season too to talk some more baseball. So continued success, Mick, and we'll definitely do this again.
Anytime, guys.
All right, thanks, Mick. Take care.
Thanks,
Must
Mick. Stay
continue
safe.
success.
Thanks. You too.
All right.
Thank you. All right, that was Mick Gillispie from Cubs Baseball Channel, as well as the Bama Telegame channel on YouTube. Of course, you can catch those out as well. But we got our other girl, Christine Manika, on deck. We got a lot to catch up with her, and from sports media news to Bears rookie minicamp and a whole lot more. So we got a lot coming up. So take a minute to stretch, and we'll wrap things up here with a lot of our girl KXRB's Christine Manika right here on Sports on Chicago. Coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kenny McGee on the Twitter. X is going to be on that IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So you have any last-minute questions or comments? We have a lot of new people watching us. Thank you for joining us. Don't be afraid to go in that comment section on Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube page or Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina, get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. She took a week off last week, but she's back with us. We got a lot to talk to her about. We got
a lot, yes.
Yeah, so let's get right to it. Here comes our girl from KXRB, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. Christine.
Hi guys. How are you? Sorry about last week. That was kind of unexpected.
No, that's okay. No problem. Look, you got a job to do, so you gotta
do it.
Yeah.
Oh
so
boy.
We gotta. Oh dear. Okay,
we're fine.
Oh, that wasn't good. We're back up here. So, Sid, where you want to go first? Because we got a lot to talk to with our girl here.
We'll start. You had your Cisco and Ebro review on Monday, Lakina, about the Tom Brady World. So I want to get Christine's thoughts on it. Did you see it, or did you catch any highlights on social media? If so, what were your thoughts?
Oh, we watched it live, and holy cow, I was laughing pretty much the entire time. I thought, everyone said it already. Nikki Glaser absolutely killed her set for sure. The timing, the jokes itself, and the creative process and what all goes to that. It was amazing to watch. I think I loved Drew Bledsoe. I thought he was very, surprising, like being the first guy out, being the first non-comedian out and just kind of command the stage the way that he did. He may not have won the first spots for the Patriots after Tom Brady, but I think he definitely was one of the big winners for the roast for sure.
He definitely was very comfortable, right? I know he does a lot of speaking engagements now and around the Pacific Northwest. So he definitely showed it. And I saw him on the Dan Patrick show. He said that there were actually some jokes that they said, no, we're not going to do those jokes. So, they kind of all had to adjust. But I thought it was good. I know you liked it, Christine. And I know some people say that, it was so out of bounds as offensive. Well, that's what a roast is. It's supposed to be towing the line between, the offensive and kind of. I applaud. Well, don't watch the Dean Martin roast from the 70s. Okay, just don't do that. You'll be clutching your pearls even more.
All right, and even like with Kevin, no better host to do it than Kevin Hart. I loved it how he's like, it's about feeling uncomfortable. We gotta make you feel uncomfortable and just kind of setting the mood of what a roast is, because it has been a while since there's been a roast like that. And I also, who else did I like? I liked obviously Ron Burgundy, Will Ferrell coming out. Holy cow, the gazelle, the Giselle, whatever that line was. Apparently that was an impromptu thing. And man, that made me smile. And Chris, he's a big, we're big Anchorman fans, and he loved seeing that.
What did you think about Kim Kardashian being booed? Did you care at all, or you figured, it's just part of the show?
You know what? I think when you think about it, you have Patriots fans there. You got all these sports fans that are in the forum, and it just wasn't her audience. I think it wasn't the people that she was used to, especially with those riled up sports fans like that. I think she was definitely a good sport and put on a brave face, and maybe she thought something like that was gonna hit her, but at least Tom got up there at the end and made her feel comfortable by giving her a little jab back at her, which I thought was kind of funny. But I think the main reason, and I was even telling Chris this year, I think the main reason why she was there was at one point when the whole divorce of him and Giselle were going down. At one point, it was rumored that they were together. Who knows if that's true or not, but at least she was a good sport about it. And I got to say, shame on Netflix for editing out the booze just because you're making it more obvious and you're causing more of a conversation about it. It's the same thing what the NFL did with Alicia Keys' set for the Super Bowl. She had that giant crack at the beginning, and they dusted it off. They brushed it up a little bit and made it sound like the crack never happened. So again, you're just drawing more attention to it if you edit it the way that it wasn't portrayed live, because we all know what happened. So
yeah, exactly. And it'll be interesting. I mean, look, to his credit, look, he actually got a couple of big jabs back, and became a good sport about it. So I think for me, yeah. So I think it was a great roast. Go on YouTube if you guys don't have Netflix. I think Netflix still has it up, edited. I think some of it was edited. So yeah. But if you guys didn't get a chance to see it, people would talk about it all week. Check it out. So did you get a chance to at least see clips of it at least?
Yeah, I told you that I saw clips of it via social media. So, like I said, the intro with the True Bledsoe, Bill Belichick. I want to get Christine saw the intro with Bill Belichick said, "We're here to see Tom Brady, but Drew, you got to take a back seat." I'm just paraphrasing a little bit, and we know that Bill Belichick has a personality outside of football, but if he wants to do the whole broadcasting thing or the whole, I'm not gonna say stand-up comedian, no, but if he wants to get the dibble and dab and a little entertainment here, that he has the personality to do it. I want to get your thoughts about Bill Belichick's performance at the roast.
I think he did great at the beginning, and quite honestly, I thought that that's what it was all going to be, like a pre-recorded intro, excuse me, and then that was going to be it, knowing that Bill and Tom were really the best of friends. They tolerated each other, and there's definitely a mutual respect there, but I mean, it wasn't Bill's first choice to have Tom Brady as his quarterback. So when he came out and he just nailed every line that he gave, it was a slower delivery, but still every line that he said, it was spot on. I mean, telling Gronk to stop doing his commentating job, I thought that was pretty good. And he did have a couple of good jabs, and I think when him and Robert Kraft got on stage, Kevin Hart getting up there and kind of facilitating that little reunion, I definitely think it showed a little bit more of like okay, we're moving on from this relationship and we can at least be civil with each other. Because I was listening to Julian Edelman's podcast with Drew Bledsoe, and they said Robert Kraft actually came backstage and Belichick was there with them. And he said that you can cut that tension like a knife with the tension that was in the room once Robert Kraft walked in there. And I definitely think, getting the two of them up on stage made it the night at least a little bit less awkward.
Yeah, same thing with Coach Belichick and Brady. I think that was like, you can kind of tell that there was still a little bit of tension there, but I think they kind of took it to the side for the roast, and like everyone was a good sport about it, so it's all right there. So I'm glad you guys liked it. I know some people were offended, but it did its job.
It's a roast.
So it's a roast, exactly. So it did its job, so it's fine. This is Second City Sports on Sports Social. Got Keena McGee, Cindy Brown, our girl KXRB's Christine Manika with us. Okay, so let's go to the Bears Stadium for a second. Of course, some of the updates. Of course, we saw the renderings, from the Lakefront Stadium. Governor Pritzker said, nope, it's a non-starter. And then like some other stuff, and then they went to Springfield, but he wasn't there. So what do you think about all this with the Bears Stadium? It's a little bit complicated.
Well, they thought that they were going to have a problem with Lightfoot back in the day, and then the city opened up once Mayor Johnston took over. No. This is now a governor issue. This is now a whole state issue. So I think it is kind of interesting. The fact that they even made time and went up to Springfield and he wasn't there. You might think like, maybe did they call ahead of time and they said that he was going to be there? Is Pritzker avoiding the situation? I don't know. I really don't know. But I mean, we'll see what happens. For all we know, this stadium concept, this idea isn't going to happen for 5 years down the line. I'll say that. If it keeps on going the way that it's going, I can imagine that things are going to stay pretty much the same for the time being.
As I told you the last couple of weeks, Lakina, I'll say this to you, Christine. Arlington Heights is still in play. They bought their land where the old Arlington racetrack was, and of course, assuming that the stadium stays in Chicago, of course, the Bears had to sell that land. But Arlington Heights is still in play, and Kevin Warren, the new Bears president, he's playing the leverage game right now. We got all this land in Arlington Heights, as I said all along. And I'll say it again for our new listeners and viewers. Arlington Heights, if the Bears should move out there, they'll control more of the economics as far as parking, the concessions, the merchandise, everything. Right now, Soldier Field is owned by the Chicago Parks District. The Bears get nothing. So business-wise, Arlington Heights is the spot. If you want to stay in Chicago, unless they can work something out, they'll get some of that money. The city has control of that, as they do right now with Soldier Field.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So to be continued, as they say. Now, staying with the Bears, of course, they're having rookie mini camp right now as we speak. Caleb Williams is named a new starter. Eberflus kind of like put it out there. Shocker. So with that, of course, Roman Duzey's there as well. All the rookies are there, and then the free agents that they've signed. So, Christine, what do you think? I mean, I know you've been very very honest about assessment of how Caleb Williams is going to be this year. So, what do you think? You think he's been at the Cubs games, he's did this and that. So, what do you think of Caleb's going to rookie season is going to be like?
I think I can definitely appreciate him for really integrating himself into the city and taking time to go to Cubs games, go to the WNBA game the other night, and just really trying to understand Chicago as a city before he even steps out on the field. So I can definitely appreciate that. And, I think everyone has to remember that he is a rookie. Is it a shocker that he was named, QB1? No, because who else do you have, Bears? Tell me who. No one. Okay, so that's kind of a no-brainer
on the Tyson
there.
Bagent train, the Bagent man train.
Hey, I am all for it for sure. But and in terms of we haven't been good at getting any veteran quarterbacks to mentor rookie quarterbacks. That's just, it has not been the Bears style for a couple of years now, and that's unfortunate. But I really do think that he's going to be looked at a closer microscope, just because he does have a lot of weapons by him with Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift. You still have Cole Kmet and all those other guys. I mean, if anything, the O-line has just been very much enhanced in this offseason and got a nice little makeover, as my co-host and I were talking about that. So it's going to be a very interesting season. One thing's for sure, I know that Eberflus is playing for his job this year. So if he is not getting everything done, even with the top draft pick and any other guy that's out there, I think it's going to be time to, see what else is out there in the future with the Bears going forward. But that's, months down the road from now.
Speaking of the WNBA, Christine, too bad you weren't on last week, but I'm glad that you are now. Caitlin Clark's debut at Dallas last week, the preseason debut. I know ESPN, the main ESPN, had the NBA playoffs on, but they had reruns on ESPN too, and her debut was not televised. The WNBA dropped the ball here, and now that her home debut, I believe, which I think it starts next week, is going to be streamed on Disney Plus. The WNBA, they're dropping the ball here. Momentum is being created by the day, and not all I know they have a streaming app, but you got to put some of these preseason games on television, folks. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, preseason's definitely important, but it doesn't necessarily tell the whole picture of the player and how the season's going to go. I will say, probably because of Caitlin Clark and everything that goes around it, they're now getting private charters for planes. That hasn't happened before, and I believe when she touched down in Dallas, there was a swarm of people going by her at the airport. So I think that's part of the reason why they're like, okay, we got to go a different route here if we're going to have big players like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and so on and so forth. So it's a step to get the preseason games, I think, on streaming services like Disney Plus, but probably during the regular season, I can almost guarantee that they're going to broadcast that game for Caitlin Clark when it is officially the season.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And also, too, they just announced they're going to be adding a new expansion team in Toronto. So this will be the first team in Canada for the WNBA. So the growth is there, but can they capitalize on it? That's going to be the question. Sure. Now, let's go to the men's side for a second in NBA playoffs, Christine. Are you following them? Who do you think is going to go to the conference finals?
Honestly, I've only seen the highlights of them. So Cleveland, I know, is 2-0 right now. You have a good battle with the Knicks going on right now too, and the Nuggets are almost kind of dropping the ball here. They were really hot with the Lakers, and now all of a sudden they're kind of losing steam a little bit. And that I can't remember if it's Milwaukee. I think it's Milwaukee's actually doing really well, surprisingly. So we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, just really seeing only the highlights of games.
Just a note as far as the telecast for the WNBA, CW26 here in Chicago, WCIU will broadcast 17 Chicago Sky games, including, I believe, the one on June 26th when Kayla Clark in the Indiana Fever will come to Chicago to take on the Sky. That's Sunday, I believe, the 26th of June at 5 o'clock. So that game is going to be on free TV. So we make a note of that there. Christine, we'll get this out the way before we get to our main topic. The Chicago White Sox, 2 wins in a row. Go figure, right? They avoided the sweep. Yeah, they avoided the sweep at Tampa Bay on Wednesday, and then, of course, last night they get a good pitching performance from Eric Fetty. They actually scored 3 runs without the home run. Yay! Yes, they beat the Tribe. Not the Tribe. Oops, I almost said it. They beat the Cleveland Guardians 3-2 for the first game in the 4-game weekend series. What are your thoughts about the White Sox? It looks like Luis Robert Jr. is nearing return, but he's being a little hesitant, and GM Chris gets us, not yet. We try to get him ready. And the history with White Sox and injuries has not been good. So what are your thoughts on the White Sox right now?
Just to bounce back off that, I think the history and injuries with Luis Roberts isn't that good either. So it kind of goes either way. The good news is the White Sox aren't, they're not only winning 5 games, they're winning more than 5 games. So they're past the point of, there's a little bit of hope here. But no, I still think the team has a lot of work to do. It's a long season. We all know that they still have a lot of work to go. And I think in time, you got to keep Luis Robert happy. You have to keep Eloy healthy as well. And you got to make sure the pitchers are intact. My sister the other day went to Crochet's outing during Bark in the Park Day. And man, she was wincing watching the game. And I think my dog was too, despite of the fact she had a very happy face on when she was at the ballpark. But I mean, it's just, you never know what you're going to get with this team. So I think before everyone starts buying their World Series tickets, they got to take a drop down to reality here really quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, look, we'll see. There have been a little bit of inroads in there. I mean, Joe Leisure, got that basically jam last night. So things looking up. I'll say that for White Sox fans. Now, speaking of the White Sox, I guess one of the main things we wanted to talk about today. Now, the TV at home, for them, the Bulls and the Blackhawks, we thought it was going to be Standard Media Group, a Nashville-based media company. It turns out, nope. They're actually going to help distribute the content for Stadium, which was the rumor. They Jeff Agris from the Sun Times, who wrote the article yesterday. So I guess they're going to be in charge. Though the SMG, the Standard Media Group, will be in charge of distributing it through various cable satellite streaming providers. It's going to be on Stadium, and there's going to be a lot of condensing going on. So what do you guys think? I mean, it'll be interesting to see the fees for all this stuff. I mean, when will NBC Sports Chicago cease to exist? Because they're talking about launching in October, so a lot to kind of digest here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my first initial thoughts are make sure that it's stable. We saw with Bally Sports and recently with the Minnesota Twins game that they're no longer able to show games depending on which area you're in. Like, for example, the big cable provider out here in South Dakota is Midco. And because of what's going on with Bally Sports, Midco is hardly ever allowed to broadcast these games anymore. And I know a lot of the Twins fans in this area are pretty upset about that. So I guess number one, you have to make sure that it's a stable group. It's a stable organization that's not going to go under in 3 to 4 years, just because that seems to be the trend with Bally Sports at the moment. And as far as NBC Sports Chicago, I'm looking at it this way. Chicago is a number 3 market. It takes a lot just to kind of shut down any sort of network, specifically if you are in that top 3, top 5 market area. And you got to think about, what are the pros? What are the cons of that? So it honestly just kind of depends on where they see the stadium going and if they see it for a long term or just until they can bridge a gap between other deals.
Lakina, we know most of those folks over at Watch Stadium. We had a couple of them on our show. Of course, we know a few people over at NBC Sports Chicago, both on and behind the camera. We have them on this program over the last few years. I hope as we talked about the last couple of shows, and we just for conversational purposes only. With Chuck Garfien and Ozzie Guillen and Scott Bissett and the host pre and post game live. Well, many of those hosts, and of course, our guy Pat Boyle, who does a pre and post for the Blackhawks, where most of those guys at NBC Sports Chicago go over to this new network, or where they bring on new guys. And I know that's a tough decision, it's a tough process, but I know those decisions had to be made by at least by the beginning of summer. Mm-hmm. And for those writers at NBC Sports Chicago that covered the Hawks, the Bears, and the Bulls, will there be transition over to that new network as well? So a lot of decisions will have to be made pretty quick.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the number one question. How it comes from the article that if you guys read the article, apparently they want to try to get some of that stuff to the new network. So we'll see. But yeah, it's going to, I mean, because they're talking about launching in October. So they got a lot to do between now and October. So hopefully they'll figure things out and Riser doesn't drop the puck or the ball, I guess.
Either one.
Exactly.
We're heading down the home stretch with our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, right here on Second City Sports. Their Friday Fun Edition. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you, Christine. Boomer Esiason, former NFL quarterback, now he's been doing New York Sports Morning Drive for years on WFAN. I don't know if you heard his comment the other day. He said that Netflix. Don't be surprised if Netflix and the NFL will do a marriage as far as broadcasting games live on Christmas Day. We talked about the Tom Brady roast earlier. It did very well for Netflix. Netflix is not in the business of airing live sports, at least as of yet. But Boomer Esiason predicted that not too far in the distant future that maybe the NFL and the Netflix will be the exclusive home for Christmas Day games. We know for this upcoming season, Christmas is on a Wednesday. The NFL says, the NBA, you don't own Christmas Day. We do. We're going to play an NFL game on Christmas Day, which is on a Wednesday, whether you like it or not. So what do you think about streaming services taking over sports, particularly the NFL?
It wouldn't surprise me if Tom Brady's roast not only got a little bit of a feel of what it's like to do something like that again, like host roast, but also what the sports fans are going to do and how they're going to react to the live event. I think for the most part, it went off without a hitch. There was only a couple of buffering moments, I think, at least on my end. But other than that, it went off pretty smoothly. So I can definitely see this kind of be the start to that. Maybe not full-time streaming games, but definitely some of the major ones, like you mentioned, Christmas being one of them.
It's going to be interesting though, because will the local broadcast be locally, if whatever the city that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
will you be able to get it if you don't want to subscribe to Netflix? Of course, Netflix has cracked down on the password, so you're not gonna be able to share. Someone not gonna be able to watch.
Right.
Not to watch live football. So yeah, think about that as well. So gonna be interesting to see how that works. I mean, of course, the NFL schedule leaks are going to be out on Wednesday. So, of course, that report kind of came out that will Netflix get maybe 2 Christmas Day games. So, it's going to be interesting to see if, of course, that'll be kind of like the thing here. Of course, we know that I think Peacock's going to be airing another playoff game exclusively. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see the games of the future now. Speaking of, since we're talking about the schedule release, how many primetime games do they think the Bears will have this year? Because there's some people say, could they get 5? Is the most that some teams could get. Some people say they get 4. So what do you guys think? Christine, I'll start with you.
I'm going to say a generous 2, just because you have the number 1 draft pick. And if all goes well, maybe you can get more than 2. But I think it just kind of depends on really Caleb Williams' performance and the type of crowd that he's going to bring in, because he already broke the record for the amount of jerseys sold. He broke Caitlin Clark's record literally the week after she got drafted. So we'll just kind of have to see what all shakes out there.
The Bears are going to get more than 2. I'll say 5 because, Lakina, you know this as well. NBC loves Sunday Night Football, and the Bears are going to be on there at least twice. Don't be surprised 3 times, but at least twice. They're going to be on Monday Night Football at least twice. So get ready to hear Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I know some of y'all hate Joe Buck, but that's a whole nother issue. So that's 4 right there. And they'll probably be on Thanksgiving Day once again against the Lions. That's 5.
Yeah, it's been a while since they've actually broadcast them with the Lions too on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, I think it's been like about 3 or 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
So, it might be time for them to put them on in that slot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So anything else before we wrap up here, guys?
Oh, yes. Yours truly will be down there at White Sox Park tomorrow and perhaps Sunday. We're definitely going to get these guys on the program down the road. But shout out to the Chicago Sports Bums. You can follow them on social media, both on Twitter, X, and YouTube. If you're in the Chicagoland area heading down to the Sox game tomorrow, I know the game time's at 6:10, but they're going to have a great tailgate in Lot B at Sox Park starting at 3 o'clock Chicago time. The weather's supposed to be perfect. Lots of bourbon, lots of beer, lots of food. Chef Ruddy is going to be there cooking up some good brisket barbecue in the whole 9 yards. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go to the Chicago Sports Bums on social media, on Instagram, and on Twitter X. Yours truly is going to be down there tomorrow, bringing home his appetite. You can follow me on social media. Yours truly is going to have a lot of evidence for you guys. So if you guys in the Chicago area going to the Sox game tomorrow, be down there at 3 o'clock, 3:30 for the tailgate, 2.5 hours before the Sox game. As I said it once, I'll say it again. I love the White Sox, but the way they've been playing, the tailgates are more entertaining than the game itself. So I hate to say it. Now I know to be like being a Cubs fan all those years, pre-2003.
Oh gosh, yeah, that milkshake. I guess the teams are playing okay, so I guess we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. So anything else before we disperse, guys?
Christine?
I think we're good.
Oh, all right. So on that note, you follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at @CManika_KXRB.
And you still have that beautiful bird?
I do, actually.
It's getting warm out now, so you can let it fly free.
There you go.
Of course, you can catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. One more time, you get Second City Sports every Monday and Friday noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
And don't forget, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in living color 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live in the living color on Roku TV. Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, which they're on tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Of course, What's Up, Cubs with Lance C. Irvin and Jason Palmer. And we have some other shows coming up down the road for you guys. So don't forget to catch Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV.
And of course, we want to thank Mr. Mick Gillispie for joining us from the Cubs baseball channel on YouTube, also the Bama Tailgate channel as well. You can catch those channels on YouTube. Subscribe, like his page, wherever you want.
And of course, we'd like to thank the lovely and talented Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. She's back, folks.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Enjoy all the games, everybody. Of course, we got playoff basketball and hockey. Of course, we got baseball. There's golf going on as well. So many sports as the weather warms up here. So enjoy it. Be safe out there and stay dry. I know it's going to be raining in some spots. So, stay dry as well and be good to each other. For Sid and Christine, I'm LaKansas with Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week.
Go Sox! Holla!